Ryback, Justin Roberts, JTG, Vince Russo. What do these people have in common? They were at one point or another involved in the WWE. They also have their own audiobooks with hours of stories to keep you entertained throughout the week. Russo's in that list, so something's gotta be memorable, bro. You can get one of their audiobooks for free by going to audibletrial.com/bytethat. You'll get a 30-day free trial that gets you access to a library of over 30,000 audiobooks, and you can choose one to keep forever while supporting Byte That in the process. Remember, that's audibletrial.com/bytethat. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 209 of the Byte That Weekly Wrestling Podcast. You can check us out on a variety of different podcasting platforms, and we're going to be talking about the slabs of meat because it finally happened. After weeks upon weeks of build-up, SummerSlam finally came to be. Before we go on any further, I want to quickly apologize to our YouTube supporters that were not able to receive the benefits of a live podcast because, unfortunately, I have sucky internet tonight, and things are only getting bad and worse, but we're doing our best to make sure this podcast is going to keep happening. We seriously do love providing this for you guys every week, so it doesn't matter if there's a hurricane, if there's a thunderstorm. Well, if the lights go out, I guess we technically do need to cancel that episode, but with the exception of that, you can check us out every single Wednesday night on the YouTube channel. Make sure to drop us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher. My name is Juan Velas. I'm from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Joining me for the next couple of weeks, it's going to be a two-man cast, but the energy's still going to be there, and Heath will forever be in our thoughts. He's alive, folks, but you know, just gotta clarify that. So I got Ryan McNulty. How you doing, brother?
Doing good. I'm glad we're here, and the show always must go on. We overcome every obstacle that comes in our way. We're pretty good about not missing a week, so I'm glad there's still a show this week.
Yeah, we came close though. Let's just say the anxiety was real, but at least we're here, and so many things happened. So this is a strong week to just talk about just some of the fallout stuff. And this episode, it's hard to just break down into like SummerSlam and then Raw, SmackDown Live, just because of the magnitude of the things that happened. But before we do any of that, we always want to show our love and support for our gold patrons. So this week we want to thank True Prince of Pro, Paul Lobin, and Joe Windingland. So thank you so much for supporting us every month. Patron is a crowdfunding platform. For as little as $1, you get exclusive updates and lifetime access to our Discord channel. So let's just get right to it. This agenda is going to be all over the place because WWE was all over the place. Bobby Roode. I did the thing they used to do, Ryan.
Yes, yeah. So Bobby Roode making his debut on SmackDown Live. And I mean, they really wasted no time. I mean, we know it's the NXT formula that when the NXT champion loses the championship, it's only a matter of time before they make their main roster debut. Well, literally we had like 2 or 3 days and Bobby Roode's already on SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, I actually did a Takeover review, and you did the SummerSlam one. You guys can check that out on Byte That Plus. And in it, I said that because Adam Cole, baby, and Red Dragon attacked Drew McIntyre just after becoming the NXT champion, notice how they kind of just like completely forgot about Bobby Roode. So that's how I kind of figured, well, I mean, Bobby Roode's a heel. Adam Cole's coming in as a heel now. So really, with a 1-hour show, I don't think you can fit in both. So it sort of made sense. It's out of nowhere, though. Like, Aiden English was in the middle of the ring, and he was probably the last person I expected to see as the opponent for Bobby Roode. What do you think about that, though? Because he came in full babyface. Like, he was meant to be loved by the crowd. At the same time, that crowd was not going to boo him. Despite, like, WWE could have tried as much. He could have kicked a dog, a puppy, an adorable corgi, and he would have still been cheered.
First of all, that's terrible, but
I love corgis.
I don't think this is an exact indication of where Bobby Roode's going to kind of fall on that spectrum of being a face or a heel. I think they just wanted an exciting debut. They probably knew he was going to be cheered, so that's just how they positioned him. He could easily become a heel next week. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I think they just wanted him to have a match to show off what he's capable of. Aiden English was a good person to be that kind of first opponent. And normally, I do appreciate just kind of the normal debut that they gave Bobby Roode, because there's been a lot of build up and a lot of like throwing an NXT guy right into the main event with a lot of these guys like Kevin Owens and Nakamura and all that. Whereas like this Bobby Roode debut, it was kind of like a slower pace, and I actually appreciated that.
It was pretty old school, because not only did we get the debut, but then immediately afterwards, he's interviewed right there in the ring. Usually you get the debut and then you got to wait a week after to get any kind of information about him. I mean, let's go back to the Hardy Boys, right? Like we saw them live at WrestleMania, and then we were wondering when is it that we're going to get Broken Hardys? We're still waiting for that, right? But here you at least got to get a bit of a feel about what's going to be happening, but it's going to be a swerve. I think that next week you're going to get the whole, oh, you think I love you? I don't care about any of you. Where does this lead? Inevitably, like I don't think that he's going to be at the English level, although I'll say I was very surprised at the fact that it was a fairly back and forth match. The fact that the match didn't end in 2 minutes, it had a commercial break. Let's not forget about that. So that was something. But that takes us a little bit to our SummerSlam / NXT TakeOver weekend. So we had 8 hours of wrestling total. And I mean,
the day's work right there.
Yeah, that was a little insane. So we had 8 hours plus 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, an hour of 205 Live, and then tonight, we don't get to watch it because we're recording right now. There's NXT. So if you wanted wrestling in your life, this is probably more than most people need. What did you think about SummerSlam weekend as a whole, Ryan?
I thought it was a pretty good weekend. I mean, you start off right, when you have Southpaw Regional Wrestling on Friday. So that was a good way to get things going. Then you had NXT on Saturday, which I thought was a very strong show. I don't watch the weekly NXT, but all the comments I read on Twitter, Reddit, and all that, people always seem to go into NXT looking at the card on paper thinking, this might be all right. And then after the end of the show, everyone's like, oh my God, that was amazing. So I thought it was another really, really strong NXT show. And SummerSlam, I think for a lot of people, including myself, it was a mixed bag.
You gave it a 2 out of 4.
Yeah, I gave it a 2 out of 4, which, I mean, the out of 4 rating scale, that's the thing. You got to commit to on the weaker side or on the stronger side. There's no 2.5s, so I had to give it a 2 point. There I go. I'm about to
yeah,
I'm right about
to. You can't give it 2.5. I'll give it a 2.5.
No. I gave it a 2 because for as long as the show was, I mean, that's already got something going against it. You're not going to be able to sustain an awesome show for as long as SummerSlam was. I mean, that's the reality of it. That's the reality of WrestleManias. I mean, it's impossible to have a WrestleMania that's just a fantastic show throughout, whereas NXT only has to worry about 5 matches. The odds are against them from the get-go. So I thought SummerSlam was just a mixed bag. There was really, truly only one match that at the end of the day, I was like, that was worth my time to watch. Now, I mean, there were some other strong matches. Like I said, I missed the pre-show match, which
everybody missed the pre-show match, Ryan.
Yeah.
Everybody missed that.
I still have to go back and watch the tag team match, though, that the New Day Usos match, which is one I shouldn't have missed. But you know what I mean? Even like the Owens AJ Styles match, yeah, it was entertaining, but would I have felt like I really missed out had I not seen it? Probably not. It was really, truly a one-match show, which for a 6-hour program is why it just didn't come off as it didn't feel like it's supposed to be the second biggest show of the year. I'll put it that way.
It was a crazy reaction, not just by us, but by a lot of our patrons. We do have that Discord channel, and we made use of that. Want to give a shout out to Derek Wilson as one of our patrons that was very passionate about sort of the state of wrestling. I'll say that, and particularly WWE. For me, this weekend was it was weird. Like, as a fan, I honestly felt a little bit gassed out. I felt exhausted before the show even began. Cause like I saw the three pre-show matches or the kickoff matches, and I'm just like, the first one, there's nobody in the arena. Like, okay, Fabe, who I did a takeover review with for the previous takeover, he was there live, took a picture. The damn arena was empty. Like, the crowd, basically the lights had to be turned almost all the way off because there wasn't a lot of people there, and you had two big matches, two big changes happening on the pre-show, on the kickoff show. So it's like, man, WWE, I get it. You want to be everything. You want to be comedy. You want to be action. You want to be suspense. You want to be drama. It is Sunday. And I get it. Not everybody has a job. Not everybody has an extensive amount of responsibilities. But I would hate to be a parent that has to go like, hey, if I want to watch all of WWE tonight, it's not even tonight. It's in like an hour from now. It's before dinner. Like, that's how bad it is. And I don't think more makes anything good. Like, you watch like a Stranger Things. That series was like 10 episodes on Netflix. People love it. And it's only 10 episodes, right? WWE is just saying, I'm going to give you more. Eventually, you'll like some of this. You won't hate some of it, but what you like about it, you're just going to start chanting, this is awesome. You're going to do BeachBallMania on Raw. Like, we are brainwashed. This is almost an abusive relationship, man. Realistically, it is, because you hate most of the things, but then that little thing that happens reminds you, oh, that's why I love him. In this case, that's why I love wrestling. Forget about the last 5 hours. Forget about the passable stuff. And I felt sad. And I still feel a little bit burnt out, admittedly so. SmackDown was good. SmackDown brought me back a little bit, and NXT was exceptional, which is sad, and that's the scary part for me. I loved NXT, and I still felt like there's something missing right now, and it's just my feeling for WWE, and I hope that changes. So if anybody else feels similarly enough to how I feel, like, please tweet us. Like, I want to know, do I feel alone in this? Is there anybody else in this epic journey with me?
There anyone alive depression? Out there?
Keith, where are you, buddy?
Keith,
how do you feel about this?
Come back to us.
Baby, come back.
Are you going to break into song? I was going to give you the floor for a minute there.
Too late, man.
Okay.
I stopped.
I know what you're saying. And I mean, not to get on too off topic, because I think we can kind of circle it back to NXT versus SummerSlam, where it's like, I was with you. By the end of the weekend, I did feel burnt out, but I did also appreciate the formula of SmackDown and how they decided to do it. I mean, a lot of exciting things were happening, and they kind of built an episode around one match with having segments throughout, kind of building to that main event. I always like when they go back to that old school kind of style of how they build a show. But I mean, you can look at NXT versus SummerSlam as just like a perfect example of like how wrestling should be versus where it's kind of gone wrong, where NXT is 5 matches, it's 2 hours, and it's just, you can have my attention for that entire show. Whereas SummerSlam is just this bloated monstrosity where the only thing we care about is the last thing we see. And other than that, there's not too much else we're going to be talking about the next day. And like a 2-hour pre-show, there is no reason. I understand WrestleMania because it's once a year and it's supposed to be the show. And even then, I would say the 2-hour pre-show was ridiculous. But if you're going to do it at one show, do it at WrestleMania. There is no reason SummerSlam even needs a pre-show. It should just be, if you want to do the 4-hour show, just do 4 hours. That's already 1 hour longer than your normal pay-per-view. So, like, it's absolutely inexcusable to be taking up this much time in the summer on a Sunday for this pay-per-view.
And with that, we now head off to the Raw and SmackDown poll. So we just talked about SummerSlam, talked about NXT, but how do we feel about WWE on the traditional weekly shows? Remember, Byte That Cast is the place where you can vote. Ryan sort of forgot the poll on Monday, but he got it up on Tuesday morning. He got the morning wood poll, so we're going to talk about that right now. So looking at the poll, we see that...
going to ignore that.
Wow. No, I'm not saying wow to you. I'm saying that I think this is the first time ever we have a tie. We have a tie because 37% gave it 2 out of 4. 37% also gave it 3 out of 4. Only 3% gave it 4 out of 4. Let's go to SmackDown. With SmackDown, we see that 56%, I will say, I made the voting options, didn't want none. Miz Ziggler, almost phenomenal and glorious. So
Would you
maybe
think
not too
people are gonna
accurate.
vote? It's a
Yeah.
little bit of a skewed week this week, but
Yeah.
SmackDown deserves to win regardless. Let's
4
be
out of
honest.
4. Glorious. Was SmackDown glorious, Ryan?
I think SmackDown was glorious. I already kind of went over that I liked the structure of the show. They built it around the AJ Styles, Kevin Owens feud with Kevin Owens trying to find a special referee. So I thought that was a good story arc to kind of be layered over the top of this show. And then not only that, you had two exciting debuts. You had Shelton Benjamin debuting and Bobby Roode debuting. So altogether, that made for an exciting show. On the Raw side, there were some definite highlights, like the promo with Cena, Reigns, and then The Miz coming out. I thought that was very strong. You know, they're hinting towards the Cena Reigns feud, and then The Miz kind of getting his rant in about basically having a empty arena match, and then obviously the confrontation of Lesnar and Strowman. So those were the two strong parts of Raw, but SmackDown overall, just as a show, was stronger.
Yeah, I think SmackDown gave you a bigger indication of this is why you should check us out every week. I don't know if it's because Raw has the next pay-per-view, so maybe that's why SmackDown is just getting to build the weekly episodes, not just the pay-per-view, whereas Raw, you already got to know the main event, so we'll get to that as well, with Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar. But I very much enjoyed them. I think that Raw was a perfectly okay show. It was an adequate show. Like, you had Brock Lesnar come out, and then you had Braun Strowman come out. We wanted to see that. I wanted to see that match happening. So, admittedly, I was very happy about that. What's going to happen with Brock Lesnar? John Jones tested positive for steroids, so he was stripped of the UFC championship. So, maybe Brock Lesnar sticks around with WWE. I don't know what's going to happen there. But, hey, it's even more speculation to get people talking about the future of a Brock Lesnar. Now, I do want to talk about controversial thing. So we witnessed this live at some point this year, talking about BeachBallMania. So we were there during WrestleMania weekend, and we saw the people that both loved it and hated it live. And not only that, but the bullying that would ensue to those that were against it, trying to just break the beach ball. And even then, I think our conversation was, yeah, it's kind of crappy. At the same time, we did immediately have a little bit of fun. So it's both sides, right? But then the groundwork. Finn Balor tweeting a Balor Club shirt with a beach ball. John Cena basically saying, hey, beach ball mania is fun. You have Cesaro grabbing the beach ball, tearing one in half. How many beach balls? There were 9 of them. First of all, how does that even get through? Second of all, what did you think about this? Because when we saw it happen, Chris Jericho was really the only one live that really acknowledged it. But here, it was basically everybody just going, we know this is happening right now.
Yeah, so the Beach Ball Mania thing, we talked about this WrestleMania weekend, and my feelings were being live in the crowd, just the atmosphere of the post-Mania Raw. I was okay with Beach Ball Mania to an extent. Yes, you're kind of disrespecting people in the ring. I'll fully admit that, but that post-WrestleMania atmosphere, I think it's occasionally fun to just have the crowd be wild and a little unruly and kind of out of control. So given in very small doses, I think whatever, let the crowd have fun every once in a while, especially these, a post SummerSlam crowd or a SummerSlam crowd is very similar to WrestleMania. I think a lot of people do travel now since they've made SummerSlam even bigger recently. I guess you could say one positive is that a lot more people travel to go to SummerSlam now. So it is kind of like a mini WrestleMania crowd. So the fact that there were beach balls and stuff, I think, hey, whatever, these crowds are only a couple times a year. You just let them have their fun. So, I'm not as crazy about it as other people were. I know people thought the Brooklyn crowd overall was very disrespectful, but it's just what I expect during these big events, especially when you're going to hold you're going to use the same venue for several events consecutively.
It feels
right?
like a second home. I remember when we were there for WrestleMania weekend.
We took
it was
so many trips to
yeah.
what was it? The Amway Center, I think it was
Yeah, because we
called.
went to
Like,
it for NXT, for Raw, and the Hall of Fame. So it almost became a habit of, well, see you tomorrow. Hey, we were here
yeah, the only
yesterday.
place we visited more was our hotel room.
Yeah.
So you really do kind of get used to it. That's the thing, is by the time Raw rolls around, they've been to NXT, they've been to WrestleMania. Now they're at Raw. You are so used to watching wrestling that it makes sense that eventually you're gonna start kind of having a little more fun with just kind of doing different things to entertain yourself. The crowd's gonna care a little bit less about the wrestling. It's just the nature of kind of being desensitized. You know, you've been to this is your third day in a row you've been to a live WWE show. It's not as you know, the novelty has worn off a little bit, and you're gonna start doing some dumb stuff, I guess, to entertain yourself. So that's why I think it's kind of just a side effect of doing so many shows in a row with a hardcore audience at the same venue. So like I know WWE is now deciding to crack down and be more thorough about looking for, you know, beach balls or any pool related items now. But I honestly don't see this as a major problem like for most Raws. And the thing is, as long as WWE doesn't encourage it, then I
Have you
think it's
seen their Twitter account?
yeah. See, that's the thing, is they encouraged a lot of post Mania 29 stuff, and we got a lot of like crowd hijacking moments that, you know, the crowd goes into business for themselves. If they just ignore this beach ball stuff, I think the problem solves itself. And you're only gonna really see it at Mania, SummerSlam, maybe Royal Rumble, and whatever. Like if it happens a couple times a year, I think that's fine.
And this is where I do wish Heath was with us, because the next topic is about the match that I cannot wait. That is the Monster versus the Beast. That is now official at No Mercy. It'll be Braun Strowman taking on Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. You know, obviously this is after an excellent Fatal 4-Way match. Like, that match delivered. You know, I think that if
The
people
fact that
wanted...
Keith can't be here to talk
Yeah.
about it is a travesty.
We should say slaps of meat at least 8 times during this segment, just as a tribute to him. And it was just a great thrill ride. Like, I made sure for that match.
Was it the ultimate thrill ride?
No,
Sorry,
there
I had,
no
I
roller
had
coasters, but I made sure to, like, I put my phone aside. I just laid and watched that. I tried to, like, you know, seclude
just
myself, or
bask in it.
yeah, bask in the meats. I wanted the meats, just the 4 meats in my face, man, just slapping each other senseless. All that sweat pouring down. Would Keith say that? Or did I get
TMI.
too far? Yeah. But it was a really good match. So Braun Strowman looked like a damn star in that match. I will say, like, a slight nitpick, he needs to learn how to, like, sell when it actually happens. Because one part of the match that took me out of it, and I was trying really hard not to focus on it, you could tell he was about to be hit with something, like, almost every time, because he would move slightly to the side. Anybody
He's
listening,
a little gun shy.
yeah, like, anybody listening, I dare you. This is going to ruin the match for you, but I couldn't help it. Look at any time he was about to be hit with the steps or anything, he turns slightly to the side and looks back and forth a couple times. Like, is it about to happen? It is about to happen. And that took
Gonna
me out of
brace
it.
himself.
Yeah, because it's like, I'm the monster. Don't hurt me. But hey, like, out of the 3 guys, he is the least experienced one out of the bunch, and he hasn't even been wrestling for 3 years. Less than 3 years. And look at where this guy is. The potential is limitless. So yeah, there are a couple of things he's got to work on, but I think that if you keep him up in the main event scene, he's going to inevitably get better, because look at how good he's gotten. And now we get this match. What's your take? The Monster versus the Beast.
Yeah, I mean, he was the MVP of that match, and you know, a lot of monsters they've tried to build a lot of monsters, and
Among
I don't
men.
think anyone in a long time has taken off quite like Strowman, because he has you buying it. Aside from maybe some of his selling where he has to brace himself, which I didn't notice, but I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for. But you buy into how much of a beast this guy is, and maybe beast is the wrong word, because we got the monster versus the beast. This is definitely a match I'm looking forward to. Now, this kind of puts us back on the original plan, right? We thought SummerSlam was going to shatter the plan. That plan being that WrestleMania, Roman versus Brock for the title, we have the two guys that beat The Undertaker going head to head again. It looks like with Lesnar retaining, which by the way I called it,
Yeah.
that I'm sad to have called it, but hey, it is what it is. It looks like we're probably going to get that plan that we thought, where throughout the rest of the year, Brock, one by one, is going to knock down every person that was involved in this match. So Joe's down already, and now it's Strowman's turn, and I'm sure Balor is coming down the pike. So I don't like Strowman's chances of actually winning. That being said, I think this match could be amazing and is really going to be a big test for Strowman, because Strowman is used to, and I know he manhandled Brock in the Fatal 4-Way.
And that chokeslam on Raw.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I don't think it can't be that quite that one-sided unless we're going to get another Goldberg Brock match. This is definitely a big test for Strowman in a singles main event, because, you know, normally like a guy like Roman can certainly carry a main event. And don't get me wrong, Brock can too, but in a two big guy match, that is a big test. And we've seen two big guy matches that are absolutely terrible. I mean, just look at Mark Henry versus Ryback, or there's been some Mark Henry Big Show matches that have been really,
I feel different about this one though, because Brock Lesnar, and the thing that some people do give him credit for, but it's easy to forget, he is one of the best salesmen out there. I'm not talking about selling cars, I'm talking about selling moves. Do want to clarify, because here he made Braun Strowman's chokeslam on him look like he was chokeslamming a cruiserweight. Like, it looks so easy. And Brock Lesnar is around 300 pounds. So this is not, you know, a featherweight that you're chokeslamming, yet he makes it look that good. Like, I remember there's a GIF online of him getting chokeslammed by The Undertaker, and the way that he bounces off the mat, that is not The Undertaker. He's got that
vertical leap.
He's got a hell of a vertical leap. So I'm very excited about this, and especially the road to it. Like, we're not that far off from No Mercy, but I'm wondering how they're going to build up the Braun Strowman end leading forward.
These are the two slabs of meat that I know Heath was looking forward to colliding the most. So we know Heath is happy about this.
Oh, for sure. And now something that really sucks. We lumped these two things up together, so let's put the slabs of meat away now. First up, Asuka. Asuka retained her NXT Women's Championship at TakeOver.
Woo. What a match.
Yeah, that was a hell of a match. That was very good. You know, initially I wasn't like in love with it, but I rewatched it since then, and it definitely grew on me, because like I saw a lot of people saying it was maybe one of the best women's matches in recent history, and I wasn't feeling it. But watching it again, you really understood, like, Ember Moon really tried her hardest. Like, I love that combination at one point where, you know, she did the stunner, but then she did the super kick, and I'm like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that wasn't it.
It, you know, maybe if on paper with no story involved, maybe it's just a good match. But when, like, Asuka has this Undertaker-like streak to it, anyone who's a believable opponent, like, it feels like a big deal if they're going to dethrone her. I mean, she's already broken X amount of records now at this point for being the longest reigning champion. So you really have that. It's really reminiscent of literally like the WrestleMania streak, where you're like, oh my God, is it going to happen? Am I going to see this end? And the fact that she still retained, you're just like, damn, like, Asuka is a beast.
And then the problem, soon after we find out, she actually had like an injury related to her collarbone, I think it was. And that happened like midway during the match. So she continued to wrestle with a broken collarbone. So props to Asuka. And then people were quickly going, oh no. Because, like, could you imagine, undefeated, stripped of the championship?
Yeah, not like this. Oh,
that would suck. But apparently, now this could all change. She's going to be out of action supposedly 4 to 6 weeks. So that's not a big deal. And the tweets that she put out definitely made it seem like, no, she's still going to be the champion. And she should be. Like, it should be like, hey, guess what? I'm injured. I'm undefeated. I know sometimes there's like a 30-day rule, but she hasn't lost.
Yeah,
Like
I would
that,
say,
yeah.
like, if it's, unless it was something where she's gonna be out, like, 6 months, which thankfully is not the
Yeah, like
case, then
Naomi.
yeah, you're stuck in a situation where you had to get rid of the title. But in this case, where it's like maybe 8 weeks tops, you can, especially with NXT, because they don't feature people week to week every single week. So especially with takeovers only happening every couple of months, that really adds a lot of flexibility that maybe a main roster superstar wouldn't have. So I mean, you don't want Asuka's title reign to end like this. So I'm really happy that even though it's unfortunate she's hurt, that they can still keep things going.
And then on the Raw side of things, we got treated to a match between Big Cass and Enzo Amore, which followed the Shark Tank match, which was not good. Guess
Shark
what?
Cage.
Yeah, Shark Cage. Yeah, sorry. It was still bad. What matters
I
is
know
that match sucked.
probably most of the employees at WWE want to put Enzo in a shark tank. It was just a shark cage.
Sorry, Enzo. What matters, though, is that I guess it was during a top rope spot, because that's what they replayed. He has a torn ACL, is what I believe is that injury is. And, like, I just looked away for, like, a slight second when that match was happening. All of a sudden, I hear the bell ring. And I'm like, I didn't see a pinfall, but then I see Cass
That
on
was
the
like
floor.
when I watched Rusev and Orton.
Yeah, the 4 second. It is one of the only matches you can watch all of it in a GIF, and you get to see 100% of the match. And then with this, he's like screaming in pain. So initially, I was like, "Oh, this is a heel tactic." He doesn't want to lose to Enzo, and then he's still yelling in pain, and I'm like,
Yeah, when
"Oh
he started
boy."
swearing and you could tell like the visible like frustration, he can, if he does it once and, he kind of like was punching the mat and swearing, like the first time I saw that, I'm like, oh man, is he really good at selling this injury or is he really hurt? Then when he kept doing it, I was like, uh-oh, this looks legitimate. Because at first when you see, okay, Enzo pulls the rope down, sends Cass out of the ring, and then he comes in and acts hurt because he was trying to do that Empire elbow. The way Cass went down looked like, a wrestling cell. And I was like, oh, maybe this is a way that they have Enzo win. But then, like I said, the visible frustration and anger really told the story that, okay, this is not a storyline anymore. So yeah, that really sucks because I mean, clearly they had plans for Cass. This was supposed to be the end of the Enzo and Cass feud, and now he's on the shelf. And I don't know. I mean, maybe it's for the best. In a not saying an injury is
I
ever a
get you. I
good
get
thing,
you. We talked
but
about this last week with
we've
Bailey.
talked about before. I mean, they already have a big guy who is red hot right now in Braun Strowman.
And Big
If
Cass is not even close to that in
yeah,
the overness scale. I mean, if you listen to the crowds the past couple of weeks, I mean, Enzo wasn't even cheered all that much during SummerSlam. So, like, if it was anybody else in any other feuds, you'd be like, fine. It's going to be out for a couple months because it's going to be around 9 months, apparently. That could change depending when the surgery is going to happen, which should be this week. So, hey, Kaz, you may not be listening to this podcast, but the Byte That podcast, regardless of your character, it really sucks when you guys get injured because you give your lives to us basically every single week. You put your bodies on the line. So I hope you get a speedy recovery, but he's in a tough spot. Because, as you mentioned, if you want a big guy, you already have Braun Strowman. You have your Brock Lesnar. Big Show's still around. Luke Harper, I don't know where he is, but he's still breathing somewhere.
He does a better big man than Cass at the moment. Well, at least if he's on TV. The thing is, like I said, it's really unfortunate that he's hurt, but you can also look at this as an opportunity. This is time away for him to really think about what Cass without Enzo is. And I think he just needs to come back, new look, whether he cuts his hair, grows out a fuller beard or something, like just be different when you come back. Do not be this version of Big Cass, because I think people were really left with, where does this go and why should I buy into him more than a guy like Braun Strowman?
And then I don't know if this was maybe forced upon WWE because for like the past month, really, we heard these rumors about Enzo Amore possibly becoming a cruiserweight, going to 205 Live. And I think we even brought it at one point as like a lol. That's not happening. But it would be a cool idea because realistically, where is Enzo going, right? So first, Neville becomes champion again, which just this whole combination. I mean, in a kickoff show and like aside from Asuka, Neville was the most believable champion WWE had. He was the one guy that you could tell he would die for that championship. So hey, throw him on the kickoff show, and that's where he wins the championship back. Yes, that is exactly how you build up a credible champion. Then you go to 205 Live. Enzo shows up. The problem here. Okay, first I'll talk about the good things and then get to like the concerns. Like, hey, maybe now more people are going to check out 205 Live. 205 Live is a damn good show. I've been checking it out for the past month every week, and I've been enjoying it. Am I a little drained after 6 hours of wrestling, or 5 hours technically up until that starts? Yes, but it doesn't make it a bad show. It just means it's in a really bad time slot. It should still happen before SmackDown Live, especially now that Talking Smack is gone. Just put the damn show before SmackDown as a hype-up show for that crowd. So that's the thing, right? Moving on to the negative part, Enzo can't beat anybody. Like, if Enzo has struggled against everybody, so then just think about this. The storyline now, the feud is between Enzo and the most dominant cruiserweight. What is that even like?
Honestly, yeah, I think it's a bad idea. I mean, am I against Enzo on 205 Live? No, I think it's actually a great opportunity to get more eyes on the show, because you can have Enzo on Raw doing some segments and then promoting 205 Live, which they've done with other guys. But I think Enzo would actually draw some more eyes to the show. The thing is, like you said, Enzo has no credibility in the ring right now. He has zero credibility. So put him on 205 Live. Why don't you actually have him beat some people who are, some lesser used guys on 205 Live, to start actually building match credibility for Enzo? Because that's the most important thing. Like, Enzo has less credibility in the ring than almost anybody else on the show. In fact, he probably has the least amount of match credibility out of literally anyone.
I forget what his stats are in the previous WWE game, but I would love to see that. Like, if you had to look at the bottom of the barrel, I think there would be James Ellsworth, Colin Delaney, for those that remember, you know who I'm talking about. And below those two guys, that's where I kind of put Enzo.
James Ellsworth versus Enzo Amore might be an even match. I'm not sure.
Wow.
Because I was gonna say, if
yeah.
Kurt Hawkins fought Enzo Amore, I'm probably taking Kurt Hawkins in that match.
Whoa! Don't hit Ryan. You're the guy that can't pick Bray Wyatt as a pick now. You sure you want to go with that?
Kurt Hawkins versus Enzo Amore. I'm taking Kurt Hawkins. Face the facts.
I hate you right now, but you know what?
Thank you.
It's gonna be a fun challenge.
Cringe.
I'll close it out with this. Does it make you want to at least check out next week's 205 Live in some capacity?
It's intriguing for sure. I actually want to see where they go with it, because just on the absurdity of them putting Neville against Enzo, I'm kind of curious how it plays out. Similar to how when they would do Ellsworth versus AJ Styles, you're like, I gotta see this.
That right there, that's why they're doing it. I mean, it works. Even if you get somebody watching 5 minutes, it otherwise will not be watching 5 minutes before. That is a network sub. That is a network trial, and maybe they tune in and they see that Drew Gulak is an awesome character. So, the big dog. It's not its boss time. I feel like we need a Michael Cole soundboard with "It's boss time" and the big dog. Dog. It's not even D-O-G. He does like D-A-A-A-W-W-W-W-G-G-G, and there's like an H after that G somehow. The big dog is going to take on the Dynasty John Cena. And I love how this happens. First of all, this is not my favorite iteration of Cena. This is very much the, hey, look at me, I'm John Cena. I smile at things. Because he came out and he's like, you know what I'm going to be, you know who I'm going to call out. Just come out here and we're going to feud. that was between the lines. That is exactly what he said.
Do you think they're gonna feud though? I mean, okay, I know they're gonna feud eventually, but do you think it's happening at No Mercy?
I don't think it's going to happen at No Mercy because you have Braun Strowman versus John Cena.
No,
However,
you mean Lesnar versus Braun Strowman?
thank you. Yeah, otherwise that wouldn't make any sense. But we do have brand new tag team champions in the form of kinda the Shield. So that would not be a bad match, especially
Are
because
you thinking like Roman and Cena versus Rollins
that
and
story sells
Ambrose?
itself. Because think about this: all of a sudden, you have former members of the Shield. Roman Reigns goes, "Well, I can't battle for the championship in No Mercy, but I can battle for some championship." We tagged on Raw. There's my former tag team partners who are probably going to bully me for the next couple of weeks. And there's a perfect opportunity to make Dean and Rollins look great because Reigns and Cena would not win because there's going to be, like they're going to hate each other and spear or something. So Rollins and Bros, they can damn it. They can retain those championships while you unfold a little bit more heat between Cena and Reigns.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little too early to tell truly where they're going because, I mean, Raw did end with the whole Superman punch thing on Cena. They still won the match.
You got to say it like Michael Cole, man. If we went all out, you got to yell Superman punch. I hate that.
I got to save my energy, man. I got to do questions later, so I need to save my strength. So they end with that little punch kind of teasing that there could be a match between them. And the fact that Cena did call him out makes you think they could go in that direction. On the other hand, Samoa Joe did also kind of get involved. So I could see Samoa Joe versus John Cena as a potential No Mercy match, but I'm not sure where that leaves Roman Reigns.
I'm still going to stick with the other option, although it's cool that they're trying to get Samoa Joe involved, like the way that he inserted himself into that match with The Miz. Like, it's nice that they are doing what we've said they should do. Treat the main event scene as like a variety of people that are all believable for title contention. And I was scared that after the Fatal 4-Way match, Samoa Joe would kind of just fall back down. But hey, here's him just looking straight up at Cena, punching him in the face. Like, they're keeping him relevant. What's that going to lead to? Like, I'm not sure, because by teaming up with The Miz, part of me is going, are we going to see The Miz versus Joe and The Miz gets killed in like a double heel, but Samoa Joe will clearly be cheered match because he's Samoa Joe and people hate The Miz? Like, that's one of the possibilities. The closing thing I want to say here is that I'm just not a fan of WWE doing the traditional thing between Reigns and Cena. Like, Reigns and Cena is a big thing. I think one of our longtime supporters and listeners, TJ Kinder, I think he wrote on Facebook that WWE, for better or worse, they have excelled at making Roman Reigns not look like an average superstar. Like, if you think about Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins, there's no question who immediately pops in your head when you think of the main event scene, whether it's good or not, right? But WWE have built up Roman Reigns to the John Cena level. Like, you look at Roman Reigns versus Kurt Hawkins. I ain't going with Kurt Hawkins on that one, man. I'm going with Roman Reigns. That's a fact. So what do you do? What do you do, though, in the main event? You know what? Tag team match, playa. Like, why do you do that? Savor the fact that this is finally happening. No, you just do the thing you always do for a Raw main event. This should be different. This is one of the rivalries that has that potential to not just be another sports entertainment match.
Yeah, I mean, it's a story that's been told many times, and I like how Cena's like, I got beef with you, but then he's like, you're going to be my tag partner. Just kind of the whole baby faces always seem to just randomly pair up in tags and be okay with it. Like, if Cena has so much beef with Roman, why is he electing to have him as a tag partner? I don't know. You could add more depth to that, but I don't ever give WWE credit to do that. At the end of the day, whether we get the Cena Roman feud now or later, it is going to feel big. And to your point about what TJ Kinder said, it's true. We are more influenced by booking than everyone thinks. If they book somebody strong, regardless of talent, we start to think of them in a different light just because of the way that they're positioned on the show. I mean, you can think about Drew McIntyre, right? Think about how we thought of him we've always known he's been talented, right? But think about how we thought of him in 3MB versus how we think of him now, and how much booking also influences that, not just in WWE but in the indies. And it is a big thing. And even if a huge section of the crowd is rejecting Roman, the fact that they keep him positioned at the top, we can't help but think of him as a big deal in some way or another.
And folks, remember that we are directly a listener-supported show. Aside from Patron, another way that you can support us directly and get yourself a free audiobook is by going to audibletrial.com/bytethat. You can get yourself a free audiobook, 30 days of the service, which includes not just audiobooks. They also have like podcast, Audible original, so it's super cool. And that audiobook that you get to choose, you keep it forever, and Audible kicks back a little something for us to help cover production costs. Like right now, my internet almost died. Maybe if I get an internet upgrade eventually, my apartment won't light on fire or something. But once again, that's audibletrial.com/bytethat. And I cannot believe now that this is actually on the agenda. We are going to be talking about Shelton Benjamin, guys. I feel
Shelton Benjamin. It only took a year, but he's here.
Dude, a year? If we count,
I know the rumors like he's been rumored for every Royal Rumble since like 2012. But
yeah.
But it was like almost exactly a year ago when he was supposed to debut on SmackDown Live.
There was something that stopped him, the injury, but yeah, we now have Shelton Benjamin, and I love this. I love how it's like, hey, you know how these two guys reminded me of like Team Angle and this, and Jason Jordan's on Raw now? Well, you're Jason Jordan now, Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah.
And Chad Gable loves
I'll
it.
be your Jason Jordan. Like, they just traded one guy for another, and that's just classic. I just like how Daniel Bryan's like, this is your new tag partner. It's like, I know it's Shelton Benjamin, and I'm sure Chad Gable's happy to tag with Shelton Benjamin, but like how the GM is just kind of like forcing him to, shouldn't it be like a choice?
Screw chemistry, man. Screw chemistry.
Yeah.
It's what D-Bry tells you.
I mean, all right, if Daniel Bryan gave me a tag partner, would I reject that? Probably not. So, fair enough.
What if he gave you Kurt Hawkins?
I mean, let's put it this way. I need all the help I can get. So I'd take Kurt Hawkins.
So with Shelton coming back, it's actually nice that he's in the tag division, because then people would just be going, when is he going to get a championship opportunity? When is he going to do it? When is he finally going to do it? Which we didn't even bring up. Like, Nakamura is not WWE champion. So we'll talk about Shelton for like 30 seconds more, and then I just want your reactions about Jinder retaining. But I'm looking forward to this. Like, I think it's another opportunity for them to develop more of a character for Chad Gable, because I totally see them almost trying to do a greatest hits of Team Angle, where, hey, I'm Shelton Benjamin, I was involved in this, and I want to take you through the ropes of everything that we did, except you have way more charisma than Charlie Haas ever did. So, hey, you may actually break out as a single star and succeed. That could happen.
Well, if Chad Gable's the new Charlie Haas, all I'm saying is the ring announcers better steer clear when Chad Gable comes to the ring.
Oh, no.
It's weird that this is happening on SmackDown, though, because they talk about the relationship between Shelton and Kurt Angle. It's like, man, if Chad Gable was actually the son, and then you brought in Shelton Benjamin, like you'd have an awesome story going. You could do so much with that. But nevertheless, like, I'm just happy Shelton Benjamin's back in WWE. It just seems like surreal to finally see him back. I mean, I haven't since I don't know if Shelton Benjamin was still with the company when I stopped watching wrestling like back in like
He
2009,
was the gold
2010.
standard, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. But it's been a very, very long time since I've seen Shelton Benjamin in WWE. So it's just kind of crazy. I mean, he looks great. He still looks great, even though like, and I know he's still been wrestling all this time, but like as far as like how he's aged in the past, like almost 10 years, like he still looks great.
Talk to me about Jinder, Ryan.
Jinder Mahal, well, like I said in my SummerSlam review, I talked about how I really want to like the guy. I think the presentation is great. He's got an awesome entrance. The Singh brothers definitely add something to him. Like he looks like a champion. I don't think he's that bad in the ring, but they are going to the well on everything else. Promos, bland as hell. He's a one-trick pony. He only he's really only concerned with just thinking he's being discriminated against, even though nobody in the U.S. has an issue with India. You're the only one that's making an issue out of it. And then the finish. It's the same damn finish at every freaking pay-per-view. It's like they can't think of anything else. Like, okay, fine, use the Singh brothers, but think of something different than just the same like Singh brothers distraction, Colossus, 1, 2, 3. The only difference was they brought in the Great Khali and put some bamboo around it a couple pay-per-views ago.
That made it so much better.
Yeah. So like I said, I want to like Jinder, but they're making it impossible because they're doing the same damn thing.
Well, I mean, you're admittedly enough not supposed to like Jinder.
Yeah,
so
but I mean, I want
working?
to be interested in his programs, but they're real. Like, I mean, you have so many other sides to this Jinder Mahal thing. The fact that he was fired, like the fact that he doesn't use that, like to talk about, like I was fired from this company, I was at my lowest point, and like I rose to the occasion, I got in good shape. Like, and they've done some of these other kind of like .com or whatever things of like his workout routines, and they did a like more of like almost a mini documentary I saw. Like there's some really impressive stuff, and they don't use any of that. They just go to the same foreign heel stuff that we've had multiple other things going on doing the exact same thing on the exact same show. I don't think I'm bringing up anything too new here. The only new wrinkle it seems like is they could be moving away from the Nakamura feud right away, which is probably best if they want to protect Nakamura and they're planning on keeping the title on Jinder. So I'm okay with that. But it's clear the India tour coming up, they wanted the title to stay on Jinder at least until then.
You've basically said most of the things that I would say, but I'll conclude by saying I was surprised because I did not think Jinder would be the one to pin Nakamura. But in my prediction, I also said I didn't exactly, expect Jinder to become champion in the first place. So that happened, and it kind of sucks because it seems like people care about everything except that main event part right now. Like they care about Owens, Shane, AJ, and everything else below it. So maybe that changes, and maybe Dolph Ziggler could be part of that change because he's back, Ryan, and he's the same guy. I thought they would
maybe
change him.
So this is the part where I make the mistake about believing that there could be something to this thing with Dolph Ziggler.
Ryan, have you not learned? Let me tell you about Bray Wyatt.
Allow me to make this mistake.
Okay, fine.
Because here's where this is almost like a Game of Thrones thing where, you spend the whole week coming up with these theories and then you get all sad when none of your theories come to light. They have some potential here for a character for Dolph Ziggler. I really liked that he brought up, hey, like I'm a guy that he's implying he wants to be, a guy who is given opportunities and stuff for his merit as a wrestler. His in-ring ability should be all he needs to make it to the top. and he's complaining like, oh, maybe I should glow in the dark or sing, bring a guitar and dance and all this. And there's a potential here for Ziggler to sort of be a commentary on the state of WWE with all the, everyone's doing all these flashy things that are really just hollow. And this is why I'm here. This is what I'm doing. There's a potential for this character moment with Dolph Ziggler where all the frustration of like, do I have to bring a guitar to get an opportunity around here? There's something there. I really actually think there's something there. And next week we'll see.
Ryan, let me tell you about the story of a traditional babyface to heel turn. Usually the babyface would do a lot of things, like pander to the crowd, sing, dance. Then they turn heel. And in that heel process, they will say that they don't need to sing and dance. They don't care about the crowd. They only care about themselves. Does that sound familiar?
Yes. Sounds like a lot of heel turns.
And I mean, that's the problem. Like with Ziggler, what you're saying, I hope that happens. And I hope I'm wrong. But how many times have we recorded this show, talked about this exact same thing? We talked about it with the heel turn, like the one that just happened. And every other time they try to do something with Ziggler. And what ends up happening? He tries to be the guy that talks really fast because he's the best damn thing in what he does, and blah, 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 and nothing happens. So I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be.
Yeah, I want it to just be that, hey, Ziggler is going to essentially be a commentary on, yeah, you guys are all this with all your bells and whistles, but he's going to actually be a real character. That's what I'm hoping for. Maybe I'm just projecting my wishes onto Dolph Ziggler. I probably am. But
the first thing he needs to do is stop selling. He needs to change how he wrestles. Like, talk all you want.
But it's not just that, because we know it's not just like Ziggler in the ring. Sure, he oversells, and that might make people think he looks weaker because of it. But the in-ring thing is not the issue with Dolph Ziggler.
It's all of it.
It's, the character. The character has been passed by. There's just other people we care about more. Ziggler needs to do something to make us care about him. Like, example, like The Miz did. How long did we not care about The Miz until something in him, just a spark happened, and all of a sudden The Miz is actually doing some of the best work of his career. There's that light bulb that can go off, and the same thing could happen with Dolph Ziggler. He could show up and be a commentary on the state of WWE characters, or he's going to show up as this horrible amalgamation of like glow in the dark stuff, dancing with a guitar, and he's just trying to be everything at once, which could be hilarious. So one of those two things could happen, or he could come out and just cut the same usual promo, and then somebody comes out and kicks his ass, and then we're like, oh yeah, Ziggler who?
Because the whole big challenge with him is, the whole thing is he's the best guy in the ring. Like, that is what he says every week. So the ring part totally does make sense. Like, look, I'll bring up an example.
Wrestler.
He's the bestest. I forgot about. Damn, I wanted to sing the Jimmy King song. I forgot now. Sorry, Bo.
He's the bestler, better than all the wrestlers.
Better than all the wrestlers. Okay, I feel a little bit better now. But what I wanted to say is that, look, here's a concrete example. I will say it right now. I am very happy with Finn Balor at SummerSlam because he actually wrestled differently as the Demon. He was more aggressive.
Around.
I mean, he crawled around, but hey, like, he looked more aggressive. He wrestled more aggressive. He sold a lot less moves. Like, he didn't feel like he was just Finn Balor with face paint, which seriously has felt like that every time for me when he stepped foot in that ring. So I'm not like one of the complaints I'll have about a lot of wrestling fans is that sometimes we are afraid to admit when things change for the better. And I'll say it right now. I didn't care about Demon Finn Balor. I thought it was a cool character. But if they're able to do this again, where they go an extended period of time, without doing the Demon thing and savoring it and really making it mean something, even if it was with Bray Wyatt, which is not exactly the best example, right? But at least, like, when that bell rang, I feel like he was still the Demon King in that ring. I feel like there was at least something different other than, well, we got the entrance, and now we're going to get the sling blade and everything, which all still happened, but he tweaked it a little bit, and that's what wrestling is. Like, wrestling doesn't need, like, look at Glow. Seriously, go back and check out our review of Glow, and a lot of the things that we say then stand here. It's the simple things. Sometimes wrestling likes to be too complicated. Be more aggressive. Don't do much of this. Just do a little bit more of that. And sometimes that's all it takes to get something going, making it feel different and pretty awesome. And now, folks, remember that you can send us questions every single week on Twitter. You can go to Byte That Cast, use the hashtag AskBT. You can also send us an email to bytethatcast@gmail.com. We're also all over social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So whenever we post those pictures saying, send us those questions, they will either make it here or on Fan Friday, which we have a pretty cool topic this Friday about Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss. So Ryan, hey, this is going to be happening for a couple of weeks now. So is the seat warm?
I will not disclose that information, but it is time for me to read the questions. I won't try and impersonate Keith. I'll add my own twist.
It's your question.
My own twist to it.
What the twist? So
our first question comes from He Was a Gator Boy. He said, see you later, boy. It's Gator Boy 1006. And he asks, how do you guys feel about Adam Cole coming to WWE? By the way, love your podcast. Thank you.
Love the question. Love the supporters. Didn't love your song, Ryan, but cool.
I tried.
You know, Adam Cole, I've said a couple times, like, I don't really keep up with a lot of what he did, but I have listened to a lot of interviews with him, and the way he carries himself like a superstar, like I think I said it on the show once, where he's one of the few superstars left in the independent scene. Not that he's a great wrestler. Like, there's a bunch of great wrestlers out there in the indie scene, but very few have the presence that he has. So by him going to NXT in particular, you're bringing in that vibe. And he didn't have like the Finn Balor vibe to him, because I think that the Bullet Club really is what made him excel to like the other level now. Like, I'm talking about Adam Cole. But even before that, people saw the potential. And I don't think we ever saw the peak of that potential because of injuries and different things. So I'm excited, especially the combination with Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. Like, I'm
now,
looking forward to this.
Was that their debut as well?
Yeah, and I believe they had a match beforehand, like not as a team. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw one of them in an
featured
NXT
on
show.
NXT. Yeah, I wasn't sure because, like I said, I don't keep up week to week, and I had heard that I'd known that they had been signed. I just wasn't sure if they had also, that was their debut at Takeover.
But basically, they
were featured beforehand.
Yeah, this was their tag debut in NXT. So this is the first time they both came up, and then Adam Cole coming up. So this is the first time we saw this compilation.
Yeah, no, Adam Cole is certainly a guy is certainly a guy I've heard a lot about. But to be honest, I haven't seen a match with him. I haven't seen a match with Bobby Fish or Kyle O'Reilly. So forgive me on that. I don't closely follow the indies, but obviously I've heard enough to know that all three of these guys are a big deal, and it looks like they're going to be forming some form of faction. So I'm interested, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
It's almost like a club that they should form.
Yeah. I mean, they're getting a lot of former Bullet Club guys in WWE now, so I don't know if they're ever gonna actually play into it more than they did with AJ and Gallows and Anderson. We'll have to see. But thank you for the question. Our next question comes from Justin B. Can I get some love for these delicious strawberries/chocolate cheesecake pancakes? Hashtag bite that food of the week.
Yeah, so he tweeted us. I don't think Ryan has the picture, so he is like totally not getting context. Video of supporters are seeing this. So basically, he tweeted us a delicious picture of pancakes with chocolate drizzled over them and some whipped cream and some strawberries. It's gonna make me
more hungry. I haven't eaten dinner yet.
Hey Ryan, I got a joke for you. Why did Justin tell the person to take the cheesecake back?
It seems like you really have this put together.
Oh, let me try this again. Wait, this is already a train wreck. Let's make the train wreck worse. Why did they take the cheesecake back to the chef?
Why?
Because it was too sweet.
Thank you, Justin. That does sound delicious. I will someday have to try something similar, so I appreciate the question. Our next question comes from the True Prince of Pro, patron supporter and longtime friend of the show. He asks, will The Miz ever main event another WrestleMania in his career?
You know, when he was on SmackDown Live, I think I said it, yes. I don't know if I necessarily still agree with what I said back then, because he definitely feels like he is on the mid/upper card, in the sense that you know who he is. He's a recognizable face for WWE, and I think that's what they're going to use him for. Like I don't think it's a lot more believable, and this sounds crazy, it's a lot more believable to have Jinder Mahal main event WrestleMania than it is The Miz, because I think it's an extreme example of like, whoa, look at this guy go up. Whereas The Miz, he's been stalling for years. Like that main event match happened in 2012, 2011. It was around
Probably
that time.
2011. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a couple years, and ever since then, he has been at this exact same level, if not lower. So the bar has been set. Maybe it's by himself, maybe it's by WWE, because ultimately, we've said it. The Miz, great character. Name your best Miz match. I can't tell you one.
He had a really good match with Dolph Ziggler for the IC title last year around this time. So off the top of my head, that's all I got. But I see your point nonetheless. I think Miz will potentially main event another pay-per-view, especially if he eventually makes his way back to SmackDown. So I think he'll main event another pay-per-view, and I think he has the potential. I won't say with authority, but he has the potential to win another championship. Will he main event another WrestleMania? I don't think so. He's kind of like, I wouldn't say at the tail end of his career, but I think there's less years in front of him than there are behind him. So I would say that he's not going to be a priority for main eventing any type of WrestleMania. But I think, they could use him for like a couple month champion or something, transitional champion, whatever. I would like to see him get another run, but not WrestleMania. I don't think that's in the cards. So thank you for the question. Our next question comes from Derek W. He linked us to a Boston Globe article that talking about the biggest threat facing middle-aged men. So he said, an interesting kind of social question: where do you stand on the findings that the most significant danger to men as they age is loneliness over obesity and smoking?
First of all, I kind of like this non-wrestling question every now and then, especially like I work in the mental health field, so this is the type of thing, like as somebody that used to be obese and I used to be in social isolation for so many years, like socially isolated people, like that's a very dangerous topic, because you don't really have that feedback. And I think people mistake that for people that like to hang out all the time. But I think that if you're just like completely lonely, and you don't really have like a purpose, right? Like you don't really have like values. You don't really you don't aspire to do anything, right? You're just kind of coasting in life, 8 to 5 job. Maybe you go back home. Like, I think that's a huge risk. Like, and I don't think that means that you have to be in a relationship. Because, like, I think, like, for example, like us, we hang out every Wednesday. Like, yeah, the podcast is work, we edit and all that, but say hypothetically we weren't in relationships or we didn't have much going on in our lives. Like, at least for us, we know we'd have Wednesdays. We have the bike club. We have, like, people on social media. We have people to chat with. Like, there's so many ways that you can really spend time with people that's not one-to-one. I mean, hell, we've known each other for 14 years, and I've seen you 3 times in person, around that.
Three
Yeah,
times.
3 times. Yet it's like I've known you my whole freaking life. You know me more than my wife knows me, probably. So just put that into perspective.
I don't know at this point.
Well, we haven't gone all the way, Ryan.
It's not yet. Yeah, so on this, to kind of jump back onto a more serious note, it is, I definitely see this as, definitely a problem where a lot of ways, as great as technology is, it kind of can sometimes assist you in isolating yourself. I certainly in high school and college was not the most social guy ever. Like I spent a lot of time in my room, just kind of, online, whatever. Even though I was talking to you guys in a lot of ways socially, I was also kind of isolating myself. So, my advice in that situation is like, you got to just put yourself out there. If you're looking for a relationship, unless you're in college, a girl isn't just going to walk through your door.
Yeah.
So, you got to put yourself out there, even if it's like online or online dating or whatever. If you want that part of your life to be fulfilled, you have to seek it out. And you got to every once in a while just like kind of do like an internal diagnostic of your brain and be like, am I satisfied with things are going on right now? Like, am I coasting right now? Should I be doing, what can I do more? Am I happy with my current state? And don't, you gotta be proactive and do something about it. Otherwise, things aren't going to change because, trust me, I've been in a lot of situations where I let things coast for too long and don't take the action to
Because it's easy.
do
It's
the
the
change.
it's the
It
safe
it
thing.
is. It's easy, but you're going to be less happier for it, and you're going to regret not doing something about it sooner. So my advice is recognize the problem and figure out a way to solve it.
Yeah, I wanted to quickly add something. I know we did the Audible ads, and this is totally more on a personal level. Like I'm currently listening to the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F Word. Funny title aside, it's a really good book. It's a self-help book, but not in the way that you expect. It's more about like a lot of times we put our values in dumb things. Like an example that book points out is Dave Mustaine, Megadeth. He focused so much of his life about trying to be better than Metallica that in an interview he stated he was miserable despite the fact that millionaire, worldwide recognized artist, right? But because he never excelled Metallica when it comes to sales and all that, he was miserable, where he could have just focused on becoming successful, on establishing a band, and all of a sudden he would have been like, hey, I'm doing pretty damn good, and I'll say like I was socially isolated till I was 17, like literally. The reason that I'm saying is we've gotten messages, and you know this, Ryan, where sometimes we have some of our fans that do need support, and like the podcast above wrestling talk, above everything, like it has literally been therapeutic for people and for me. Like the past couple of months, I've been doing better now, but the past couple of months have been rough. But when I was younger, one of the times where I will say it, like I attempted suicide around that point, I talked to you guys, and literally two things kept me alive, and that was I couldn't miss an episode of Raw. Yes, that was actually the reason I did not commit suicide.
Sorry to laugh.
Yeah,
Sorry to laugh there.
dude, I find it hilarious. And like talking to you guys, like in that process, maybe sort of go like, holy crap, if it were not for you guys. And hell, I owe you to the fact that I learned English. Like, I owe you a lot of my life, man. You don't take enough credit for that. So thank you, Ryan. I love you. We should go all the way.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a lot of pressure. Yeah. Well, I think you ended it pretty well, so I will.
Thank you for that question, because I know some
Yeah.
people may need that. So
Yeah,
thank
it's
you,
a
man.
good question. We got to get some hashtag real talk every now and then on the Byte That podcast. So our next question, and this is one of my favorite questions, is from Peter D. Aloha, guys. Now that Drew McIntyre won the NXT Championship on Saturday, how long until Heath Slater goes to Raw and beats Brock Lesnar for the Universal title? He could do it with the help of Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre, thus reforming 3MB so they can hold all the top titles in WWE and NXT. Thank you guys for being so awesome, and I hope Keith can find his smile.
It's got to be a really tough time to be Heath Slater. Realistically, both of a team that people like, we all see was the highlight of 3MB. Let's just think about that, right?
Absolutely.
And Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre.
Still one of Jinder's best matches he was involved in.
Yes, one of his favorite matches as a whole. So Heath Slater, they should actually try to have some kind of storyline. I am surprised.
I actually think so. Now, obviously, Universal title isn't going to happen. But just imagine Miz versus Slater or something. Like, give Heath Slater the damn Intercontinental title.
Or at least challenge Jinder for
I
it.
mean, for
his
God's
title.
sakes. Right? He's on Raw, remember? now. He got moved to Raw.
Right.
So,
See,
yeah,
that shows you how much I
I know.
remember about
So, I
about
mean,
him.
one could argue he was the first to get his feel good moment when he was the first ever SmackDown Tag Champ. But it would be cool if they were all holding a championship simultaneously. Now, that's the thing is like Heath Slater, he has given a lot to WWE and asked for very little in return. And I mean, so far he's really only been rewarded with the SmackDown tag titles, which was a fun storyline, but they just completely dropped off the map after that. I say Heath Slater, surprise IC title win. I'd love to see it. And, that's a realistic feel good moment. We can be like, damn, look at where 3MB is now. That would be awesome. I want to see that happen.
Do it.
So thank you for the question. Our next question comes from Terrence asking, I was wondering if you guys ever watched Wrestling Society X on MTV back in 07, 08. Because my question, do you think it could have become a big time wrestling show weekly like TNA with the names they had like Evan Bourne, Seth Rollins, Just Incredible, Vampiro, Brian Knobbs, and more? Why or why not?
Ryan, why did you laugh at the Brian Knobs part? What do you have against Brian Knobs that I should know about?
All I think of is just him on Hogan Knows Best.
Yeah.
So, we actually did watch Wrestling Society X.
Yep.
For I think we saw every episode because there was only like 3 or 4 episodes, right?
There weren't too many, and I remember it was outrageous, and I
like
would
people
love
got
to go back.
electrocuted. There was friggin' piranha tanks and stuff.
And the screen shook like for every big move. Anything happened. Like there was one match where the ring blew up, like the entire ring blew up or something like that.
So clearly they were really going for these over the top theatrics where I don't think it could have really ever been anything more than just kind of a gimmicky show. It was really hard to take it seriously because they did some really dumb over the top things like piranha tanks and whatnot. It just like it came out of nowhere. It's not like any of these feuds deserved it. They didn't have any time to build any of those types of feuds. So it really just kind of came off as completely ridiculous. Whereas like if you did like dumb things like that in a more storyline setting, or you had more of the presentation of something like Lucha Underground, then maybe it can work. But I don't think that format would have ever become bigger than TNA.
And I think more so than a wrestling show, it almost felt like they were trying to do a parody of a wrestling show. Like from the announcers.
They were trying to be like
the
Jackass
entrances.
and wrestling together.
Yeah, it wasn't like, look at these crazy moves. It was more like, whoa, look at what's happening in the ring right now. It was such an MTV. It was the bad MTV. It was the really bad kind of MTV. But realistically, they had the funding. It seems like they had something going, but maybe just not the right people behind it.
Thank you for the question. Our next question comes from Caleb. Now, the funny thing is this is such a simple question, yet we could go on forever about this. The question is, who is your favorite current WWE wrestler?
Kurt Hawkins.
Why is this the Kurt Hawkins episode?
I don't know. I just feel like he doesn't get enough love. Saw him in the Grimm's Toy Show videos, and he was pretty entertaining, so wanted to give him some love.
All right.
But
well, do you have another answer?
Yeah. My real answer is AJ Styles. Like it's realistically AJ Styles. I think that AJ is the epitome of somebody that can be really good in the ring. He can do crazy stuff. It's also believable. Feels like a superstar, but he can also be a physical athlete, right? Like he doesn't just do the flippy stuff. He's able to like do submission-based wrestling. He's able to adapt to superstars. He's basically like a Kurt Angle, like a Shawn Michaels, where he can take on anybody, and I feel like I would get invested into that match. And like that's my favorite type of thing. Like whenever people talk about fantasy matches, my type of fantasy matches or fantasy rivalries is always like, it needs to be a wrestler that can adapt. So like a hardcore match, an elimination chamber match, a singles match, a TLC match. And I feel like AJ could excel in all of those.
Now my answer is also AJ Styles, but I kind of want to get into a little bit of a tangent afterwards. But if we're going purely on all-around performer, it's AJ Styles. But if I was to say what or who in WWE is entertaining me the most, who, that would be Breezango. I know they haven't had a match in quite a while, but their segments are what I look forward to more than anything else
Yep.
all week in WWE because they're legitimately funny and entertaining to watch. Now, what I also want to get into, and I know I've brought this up in past episodes, is that, when someone asks, who's your current favorite WWE wrestler? I do say AJ Styles, but at the same time, that answer doesn't exactly just jump out at me. It doesn't like scream to me like maybe it has in years past. And I think a lot of it has to do with just a lot of people, we've talked about this before, are just a guy who wrestles, right? I like Kevin Owens, but at the end of the day, he's kind of just a guy who wrestles. And it's just, I don't know, like a couple of years ago, CM Punk was without question my favorite wrestler. I looked forward to what he did every single week. And as much as I like AJ Styles, there's nobody close to that level in which I was into CM Punk at the time, or when I was younger, the Hardy Boys, or even the time, during Thugonomics, John Cena was my favorite wrestler. So there's just no one that draws me in quite that same way. While I still would pick AJ Styles on a pure all-around performer level.
I get you. It really comes down to the matches are good, but like Breezango, that's
is there someone
point.
that you really connect with?
Yeah, it's basically
I don't know who's on that level.
Like Breezango, they could go like 4 more months without wrestling, and they would be my favorite thing of the week still. Which, like, that right there shows, like, what is wrestling, right?
At the end of the day, you just want to be entertained.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how. And our final question comes from someone named Keith P. I'm not sure who they are. Haven't gotten a question from them before. Anyway, they ask, on a scale of 1 to 4, how much do you miss Keith? And if you had to take someone's finish in a shoot fight, who would be the last person? Wait, who would be the last person you would choose and why? So those are 2 separate questions.
Is 0 an option on that first one?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
so I'm
even
going
though he
with
said
4.
1 to 4, you can go out of it.
Okay, I'll go like a 2. It's like a meh.
Yeah. Keith's on like SummerSlam level. I'll put him at a 2.
6-hour Poshik.
Yeah, you're in a shoot fight. Who would be the last person's finisher you would take?
See, now keep in mind, like a shoot fight. So I'm thinking like a fight, not a wrestling match.
You're on the street, someone jumps you, but you're stuck using somebody's finisher. Who would be the worst finisher to use? In that
like
situation?
I'm not expecting Neville to like get on top of a bar stool and do a red arrow, right? So realistically, it would be like
not the most impractical one, I don't think.
Okay, then I'm curious. What would be the most
this
impractical?
Is my answer for
people's
a lot
elbow.
Of these
people's
questions.
elbow.
The worm. I mean, you have to like if you just knock the guy down and then you're like WORM, like he's already up and beating the hell out of you before you can even do your little worm breakdance move.
Realistically, clothesline from hell with JBL. I feel like
his question is who would be the last person you choose?
But last in the sense of like he'd be the worst one, right? Like that's how I'm thinking about it.
So I'm saying what would be the finisher that would work the worst in a street fight?
Okay. So
clothesline from hell, yeah, I could see how that or like Big Show's punch is probably the best thing to go in that situation, or even Roman spear. But like which would get you your ass kicked the fastest?
What would it be for you? I'm not sure right now.
I said the worm.
Okay, so this isn't a finishing move, but I think you'll appreciate this answer, the rebound clothesline. Because I just imagine Dean Ambrose kicking the crap out of you, but then he's desperately looking behind him like, I can't hit the clothesline. First, I got to bounce off some ropes, man. I ain't got those ropes.
People's elbow is also bad. Anything that just gives your opponent a lot of time to get out of whatever it is and beat the hell out of you.
Almost like Finn Balor, because he can never go for the coup de grace because he first needs to drop kick you into a corner. So he'd just be desperately trying to get you to like hit you in a corner, and then it's like roll. You gotta work with me, man. Otherwise, I can't hit the move.
Or Canadian Destroyer. Are they ever going to do the flip for you?
Yeah,
Probably
you just don't
not.
flip. That, or the real answer is probably the Visagra. I think the Visagra will be the worst one of all.
That might work better than you think.
It's like, dude, just get off of me, man. I'm
Submissions
good.
are actually probably some of the better finishers to actually use. You know,
True.
like a coquina clutch or something could actually be really good.
And with that, folks, we want to thank you. You brought some of the questions. We answered a couple of them, and now we want to close off the show with the Byte That weekly update. We got a lot of things happening, a lot of things in store for the patrons. So, Ryan, what's happening, man?
So going on the YouTube channel and Byte That Plus, you can check out both our SummerSlam review and our review of NXT Takeover that happened this weekend. So if you want to check out the video version, head on over to youtube.com/ByteThatCast. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you want the audio version, you can head over to our secondary channel that has all our extra content called Byte That Plus. You can hit the subscribe button on that. We update that frequently, so you can check out any of that stuff that you can't. If you're on the road and you want to hear our content, we have it available there for you. Also, we continue our Fan Friday. This Friday, we are going to be talking about the Alexa Bliss-Sasha Banks feud. We give kind of our expanded thoughts on that, answering a listener question. That is up early for patrons if you want to become a patron supporter, but that'll be up for everyone on the YouTube channel this Friday. If you want to help us out, there are multiple ways to do so. Of course, we mentioned our Patreon, which includes private shows, Discord channel, early access, tons of great features. That's over on patreon.com/ByteThatCast. You can also help us out by dropping a review on iTunes/Apple Podcasts or Stitcher. That goes a really long way in other people finding us. I do also want to mention that this weekend on the YouTube channel, and I believe Byte That Plus as well,
Yes.
we will have a new video, which actually includes Keith. So you can get some Keith this week. If you're having Keith withdrawals, we got you covered. Because this weekend we're giving our top 5 dream matches that would involve Shawn Michaels. So dream opponents for Shawn Michaels. We give our top 5. So that was a very fun video to do. So make sure to check that out this weekend. So thank you guys for tuning in this week, and we'll see you next time.